kartur anyatha. Synonyms: tapa, austerity; vidya, knowledge; cha, also; vipranam, of the brahmanas; nishreyasa, of what is certainly very auspicious for upliftment; kare, are causes; ube, both of them; te, such austerity and knowledge; eva, indeed; durvinitasya, when such a person is an upstart; kalpite, become; kartu, of the performer; anyatha, just the opposite. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. For a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious. But when acquired by a person who is not gentle, such austerity and learning are most dangerous. Purport. It is said that a jewel is very valuable, but when it is on the hood of a serpent, it is dangerous despite its value. Similarly, when a materialistic non-devotee achieves great success in learning and austerity, that success is dangerous for all of society. So-called learned scientists, for example, invented atomic weapons that are dangerous for all humanity. It is therefore said, Manina bhushita sarpa kim aso na bhayankara. A serpent with a jewel on its hood is as dangerous as a serpent without such a jewel. Durvasa Muni was a very learned Brahmana, equipped with mystic power, but because he was not a gentleman, he did not know how to use his power. He was therefore extremely dangerous. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never inclined toward a dangerous person who uses his mystic power for some personal design. By the laws of nature, therefore, such misuse of power is ultimately dangerous, not for society, but for the person who misuses it. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapara Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So first of all, I'd like to offer my obeisances to all the Vaishnavas, especially any senior Vaishnavas who are listening to this class. It's a little difficult day. This morning we heard of the loss of our dear Pankajankri Prabhu from Mayapur. He was a pujari there for about 50 years, 48 years. And he left his body this morning. So it's a very difficult time because he was so loved by everyone. But there's actually some overlap here in this story of Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was so gentle. He was a gentle Brahmana, Vaishnava, king, and the opposite was Durvasa Muni, who was actually the opposite of gentle. He was very unkind. He was an understanding of Ambarish Maharaj's the reason why he did what he did. So let's talk a little bit about that story beforehand. So the story of Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. Ambarish Maharaj was a Raja Rishi. He was a king who was like a rishi, who was like a sage. So this is the kind of leadership that they had in the bygone days. He was a devotee, and there's a very famous verse, Savaimana Krishna Padaravinda, which describes Ambarish Maharaj's activities, how he used his body for service to the Lord. Always, it's describing all his different all his senses, all the different things he did and how he engaged them. With his nose, he smelled the flowers and incense that was offered to the Lord. But with his legs, he walked to the temple. With his eyes, he took darshan of the Lord. With his words, he glorified the Lord. So on and so forth. So we see in this story that Maharaj Ambrish had a fast, and he was fasting for Ekadashi. And so Durvasa Muni had come, and they were going to eat, they were going to break their fast together. But the time was approaching for the fast to finish, the Parna time, as we mention it. And Durvasa Muni had gone for a bath. And so Ambrish Maharaj had to break the fast in a certain time, or else he would not get the benefit of that fast. So he consulted with other brahmanas, and they said that if you take water, then it's like breaking the fast, and then it's also not like breaking the fast, because he didn't want to disrespect Durvasa Muni because they were going to break the fast together. So if he was going to take prasad before Durvasa Muni, it's not a very nice thing if you have a guest and you start eating before that guest. It's like it's etiquette. And so Maharaj Ambrish took the water to break his fast, and Durvasa Muni, because of his mystic siddhis, he could understand that Maharaj Ambrish had done this, and he actually was envious. He was actually very upset with Ambrish Maharaj. And so he came back to Ambrish Maharaj and he said, "How can you have done this?" And he was so angry that he pulled hair out of his head, threw it on the ground, and because of his mystic power, he created a demon that he sent to kill Ambrish Maharaj. So, and Ambrish Maharaj was a devotee. He just was, folded hands, not knowing what to do. And so he went after Ambrish Maharaj, and Lord Vishnu threw the Sudarshan Chakra to protect Ambrish Maharaj. And so the Sudarshan Chakra killed the demon and then went on to attack Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni started running throughout the whole universe, not knowing what to do because this burning chakra was following him. And so he went to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, "I cannot do anything for you." He went to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, "I cannot do anything." He went all the way up to Vaikuntha and went to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu said, "I cannot help you because you have offended a Vaishnava. The only person who can help you, who can stop this Sudarshan Chakra, is Ambrish Maharaj himself." So this is a very telling story about how we should act with Vaishnavas, how we should not be offensive, and how if we are offensive, even if it's unknowingly, we have to ask forgiveness from that Vaishnava. We have to bow down to them and ask. This is the etiquette, that we bow down to them, we pay our obeisances, and we ask for forgiveness from them. So Durvasa Muni did that. He was, did dandavats at the feet of Ambrish Maharaj. He said, I'm so sorry that I did this. And Ambrish Maharaj, being a gentle Vaishnava, forgave him, and the Sudarshan Chakra was not was sent back. So then we come to this verse about for a Brahmana, austerity and learning. Sorry, I'm just going to stop the share. For a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious, but when it's acquired by a person who is not gentle, they're most dangerous. So this is discussing Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was not a gentle person. We know in all the stories, not to rag on him or anything, but this is how the Leela goes. That he's a very, very quickly to become angry person, and so he got himself into trouble by being very austere, being extremely learned, extremely austere person, but not being gentle, not being non-envious. So this is a very dangerous thing, and it's likened to the this jewel on the head of a serpent. Actually, this is really interesting. A few years ago, I was wondering, like, what is this thing about the jewel on the head of a serpent? So I found some YouTube video of in India, some guy, he actually was extracting jewels from the heads of serpents. I think they were cobras or something. Inside the cobra's head here, there is actually a certain jewel. It's not like a jewel that we would, it looks like a jewel, but it's like a stone of some sort. Anyways, so the point is that it may seem like, okay, this person, this serpent is really, wow, amazing. There's a jewel on his head, but it's still serpent. It's still dangerous. So even if a materialistic person has so many good qualities, the jewel, they're still materialist. They're still not a Krishna conscious person. So then they're still considered dangerous. And Prabhupada's saying here, it's like scientists. I'm not saying, disclaimer, I'm not saying all scientists. I'm just saying scientists who have used their knowledge for bad things. This is still this is what this example is giving, that if a very learned person, a very austere person, very knowledgeable person uses their talents, their austerity or their knowledge for something that's not Krishna conscious, then this is like the jewel on the head of a serpent. So Durvasa Muni was a very learned Brahmana equipped with mystic power, but because he was not a gentleman, he did not know how to use his power. So if he was a gentleman, then, he would have said, okay, I understand that you had to break your fast, and, I was a little hurt by that, but I'm not going to, pull my hair out and send a demon to kill you. So this is a very, kind of very black and white example of how we should not act. So I just wanted to pull some quotes from the different books of Srila Prabhupada about this Manina Bhushita Sarpa Kimasona Bhayankara, this verse that the serpent with a jewel on its hood is as dangerous as a serpent without such a jewel. So, okay. So Prabhupada's saying here in a lecture on the 6th canto, so that is going on. So-called educated scientists, degrees, what are they doing? Atom bomb, kill men. This is their scientific discovery, that you can kill a man with a knife, one man or two men. Now they have scientific discovery, millions of men in a moment. Come on, discovery. So why don't you discover something that millions of hospital diseased men can be brought into life again immediately? That we cannot do. Killing is going on. What you have discovered. So this is their scientific. Discover something and declare that there's no more death. That is their scientific discovery. What is this nonsense? People are dying and you have discovered something to facilitate death. Is that discovery? Therefore, they are like the snake with a jewel. That's all. They are not gentlemen. They're not gentlemen even. A gentleman thinks that I shall kill so many persons by dropping one atom bomb. I have discovered such nonsense thing, and they are going on as a scientist. So be careful. They are like snakes with the jewel on their head. That is all. They do not know. So he's just illustrating here about the point of the atom bomb. Such an amazing discovery when you think about it. An amazing thing, atomic energy and all. But using it for what reason? Using it for killing. But Vidyalayam Kritopi San. In spite of his being a very learned scholar, you should kick him out. Vidyalayam Kritopi San. How is that? Yes, he's giving example. A serpent, some serpent, they have got jewels on their head. Does it mean a serpent with a jewel on its head is not ferocious because he has got jewel? He is as ferocious as an ordinary serpent. That these things we should know. So it is said, Manina Bhushita Sarpa Kimasona Bhankara in the Niti Sastra, snake. Some snakes are decorated with a jewel on the head. So this materialist, however qualified he may be, just like just like a jewel on the head, the Shastra said, do you think that a snake coming to you with a jewel on its head is not dangerous or ferocious? He is as dangerous, as ferocious as the serpent without a jewel. Similarly, any materialistic person, however educated he may be, so-called educated, he is simply a snake, dangerous, that's all. He has no qualification. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadgunan. One cannot have good qualities unless one is advanced in Krishna consciousness. This is a very difficult point to explain, because on one hand, someone may be very educated, very qualified, but the verse is saying, Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadgunan. If one may be even very educated, very qualified, if he is not a devotee of the Lord, if he's not advanced in Krishna consciousness, he actually has no good qualities. I myself struggle with this point. Maybe later we can discuss it, but this is a very black and white verse. Let's look at this verse. Yes. This is the 5th canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse. This is a very famous verse quoted a lot by Srila Prabhupada. Yasasti bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana sarvai gunas tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahadgunan manoratena sati davato bahi. The translation: all the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. So it said that the qualities of the demigods are present in one who has developed Krishna consciousness. And then it goes on. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in materialistic activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Okay, so this is the way I look at it. The issue comes is when we use such verses to put down others, or we use it to make ourselves feel better about being devotees. This is where the problem lies. If we're using these as weapons against people, then this is the failure of our understanding of this verse. If we use this to bring up our own Krishna consciousness, that we understand that, okay, I may have so many material qualifications, I may have so much knowledge, but if I don't have Krishna consciousness, then what is the use of all these qualifications that I have? We should be pointing these things inward to ourselves, these statements by the Shastra, not for using them as weapons against others. This is how I understand it. Because this can be used in so many ways against others, and it can actually turn off people to Krishna consciousness, that devotees are just saying, okay, you may be so wonderful, you may be so knowledgeable and whatnot, but you are actually worthless because you are not Krishna consciousness. You don't have Krishna, you're not Krishna conscious. So this is how I feel like we should look at this. This is my own, feeling. Anyway, let's look at the purport of that same verse. As explained in the next verse, Krishna is the original source of all living entities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna says, Mamevamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So then he goes on to translate that. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditional life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore, when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, one's heart becomes purified, and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. Then he revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. So we all have the qualities of Krishna to a minute degree in our original manifestation. but we don't have the same quantity. That's the difference, quality and quantity. We have it in a very minute level, just like there's a spark and there's a huge fire. The spark and the fire have the same quality of fire, but the quantity is different. And also, like the examples given, like the ocean, one drop of ocean has this, the same quality, the saltiness, but how can it be compared to the quantity of that salt water of the ocean? Reading on, in the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's description of the qualities of devotees. For example, Sri Pandit Haridas is described as being well-behaved, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, and grave. His mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely devoid of all malicious activities. These are the original qualities of Krishna, and when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest. So there's 26 qualities of the devotee that's described here, that are described by Krishnadas Kaviraj. So I want to highlight these qualities because for two reasons. One is because to understanding of this verse, the Harava Bhakta Kuto Mahadguna, that we don't use such verses to attack others. And secondly, because we can understand why Ambarish Maharaj was the way he was and how we shouldn't act the way Durvasa Muni had acted. So let's look at these qualities of the Vaishnava, 26 qualities that we should try to develop. He's very kind to everyone. He does not make anyone his enemy. Okay, already. Number two, Durvasa Muni already did not, have this quality. Just because for a very minor thing, he had made Ambarish Maharaj his enemy and tried to kill him. He's truthful. He's equal to everyone. No one can find fault in him. He's magnanimous. Was Durvasa Muni magnanimous? No, he didn't give Ambarish Maharaj the benefit of the doubt. He's mild. Okay, he's always, anyway, I don't want to make this a dig on Durvasa Muni, but we can understand exactly what not to do. He's always clean. He's without possessions. He works for everyone's benefit. He's very peaceful. He's always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He's not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. That's another thing. When we become under the illusory energy of the Lord, then we see things in a skewed way. Just as Durvasa Muni has seen in a skewed way his position and Ambarish Maharaj's position, that okay, he has offended me, he has done something to wrong me. This is a skewed way of looking at it. He offers respect to everyone. He does not desire any respect for himself. Again, Durvasa Muni, he desired that respect from Ambarish Maharaj. He felt so disrespected that he went to kill him. He is very grave. He's merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. He is silent. I want to look at that. He is friendly one. It says that in that original verse that we're actually speaking of, when these qualities are acquired by persons who are not gentle, the austerity and learning, they're auspicious qualities, but when they're acquired by someone who is not gentle, these things are actually very dangerous. To be austere, to be learned, because austerity actually, when it's not mixed with Krishna consciousness, when someone's very austere, they become very hard-hearted. We see that in our, we see that in history. I can't really think of an example at the moment, but when someone goes under so much deep austerity without Krishna conscious backing and having that gentleness, then one becomes very, callous. It's a very callous thing. That's why too much austerity is not good. We have to balance austerity, because if we become too austere, then you can think that, okay, Krishna consciousness is about austerity. It's not about austerity. Monkeys are austere. Monkeys walk around naked. Animals are walking around naked. Does that mean that they're austere, that there's some value there? No, there's no value in the monkey's austerity. But the value is in when the austerity is paired with Krishna consciousness. Automatically, when one is Krishna consciousness, one becomes austere, one becomes detached. One does not have to go to austerity separately. Austerity automatically comes. It said in the second canto about that one develops bhakti, then knowledge and renunciation come automatically. I can't remember the Sanskrit of that verse, but it's there in the second canto. Let's look at the word gentle. I want to talk a little bit about the gentleness of a Vaishnava from the different quotes here that I researched. So in Canto 4, it describes the behavior of Prithu Maharaj. I'll read from that translation. It's the 22nd chapter, the 62nd verse. In his personal behavior, Prithu Maharaj exhibited all good qualities, and in spiritual knowledge, he was exactly like Brihaspati. In self-control, he was like the personality of God himself. As far as his devotional service was concerned, he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to cow protection and the rendering of all service to the spiritual master and brahmanas. He was perfect in his shyness and his gentle behavior. And when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he was working for his own personal self. This is beautiful. When we just read the qualities of the devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam, or even the qualities of the devotees in our present day, like Pankajangri Prabhu, we can understand by remembering these devotees, we can understand their pure teachings and their conduct. And with that, we can lead to understanding extremely clearly what it is to become, what it is to be a pure Vaishnava, and how to follow the path of pure Vaishnavism. So when we meditate on the qualities of Ambarish Maharaj, on the qualities of Prithu Maharaj, then we can understand what it is to act like a Vaishnava, not to attack others with this quote of if you're not a devotee, then your material qualities are all useless. No, we don't attack. A devotee that's not the qualities of a devotee, as I read earlier. They're grave, they're merciful, they're friendly, they're magnanimous, they give people the benefit of the doubt. This is how a Vaishnava should act. And we should think very deeply how we act with other Vaishnavas. I'm speaking to myself. I see, sometimes online on Facebook, and even the way Vaishnavism, Vaishnav etiquette goes out the window somehow. The way we act with others. I'm definitely speaking to myself because I am guilty of this. But this is something that I think we should all consider. Why is it like that? Because I'm not trying to imbibe the qualities of a Vaishnava. I don't meditate on it daily like I should. What was Ambarish Maharaj like? What was Prabhupada like? This is something very deep and something very important, the way we should conduct ourselves. Let's see a few more quotes about gentleness. A very famous verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastini. A learned and gentle Brahmana sees with equal vision an elephant, a dog, a bird. This very famous verse, Prabhupada's lecturing on it. When one is actually pandita, learned, he becomes samadarshi. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, one learned Brahmana, gentle Brahmana. Vidya Dadhati Namrita. Education means one becomes gentle, sober, cool-headed. Therefore, it is said, Vidya Vinaya Sampane. When one is learned, advanced in education, he must be very gentle, not haughty. I don't know exactly what haughty means. So Vidya, it seems like it's an old-fashioned word. So Vidya Vinaya Sampane Gavihasni. One side, the Brahmana with gentle behavior, learned scholarship, and the other side, say an animal, say a cow or a dog or a person or an elephant. On the other side, Chandala, the lowest of human society. So Samadarshina, the Brahmana sees everyone the same. This is a beautiful verse. It is a very beautiful painting of that Brahmana, the Vaishnava, who sees it's illustrated that the cow is there, the dog and the Chandala and everyone. He sees everyone the same. This is the way what we should strive for, this gentleness of the Brahmana. Even though the Brahmana is so learned, he's so learned, yet he is so gentle. He is so humble, very meek towards all others, giving all respect and not expecting any respect in return. The famous verse in the Shikshashtakam, one should offer all respect to others and not expect any in return. And by such behavior, one can chant the holy name constantly. Let's look at another verse. In the Adi Leela, this is describing Lord Chaitanya, who is the greatest Brahmana, who is the greatest Vaishnava. He is peaceful, self-controlled, and fully devoted to the transcendental service of Lord Shri Krishna. He is affectionate towards his devotees. He's gentle, and he's equally disposed toward all living beings. Over and over again, we read the description of what a Vaishnava is like. It just shows how much we should put importance to our own conduct. And that's another verse. Okay. And then it describes in the 4th canto about Lord Shiva, how he's the most gentle person. Lord Shiva, let's read from that. That's from Canto 4, Chapter 2, Text 1, in the purport. In the 2nd chapter of the 4th canto, the cause of dissension between Lord Shiva and Daksha, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Daksha for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva described here as the best of the gentle because he's not envious of anyone. He's equal to all living entities, and all other good qualities are present in his personality. The word Shiva means all auspicious. No one can be the enemy of Lord Shiva, for he's so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but lives underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Let me read that again. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Why then was Daksha, who offered his beloved daughter to such a great gentle personality, inimical towards Lord Shiva, so intensely that Sati, the daughter of Daksha and the wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her body? This is describing Lord Shiva and how gentle he is. Why is he so gentle? Because he's not envious of anyone. He is so peaceful and he's so renounced that he does not even live in a house. He lives in the mountains under a tree of Mount Kailash. So when I read this, I thought of Pankajangri Prabhu. For those of you who don't know him, Pankajangri Prabhu was a pujari in Mayapur for the past 50 years. When Mayapur was first discovered by Srila Prabhupada, when it was first established by Srila Prabhupada, he came there after his twin brother. You might have seen pictures of them. They're twins. Janani Vas Prabhu, who joined a few years before him and came to Mayapur, and then Pankajangri Prabhu, who came in 1973 to Mayapur. He lived in Mayapur, and they lived in a little room, and they were pujaris there in Mayapur for 48 years. Think about that for a second. They were lifelong celibate monks. Impeccable character and spotless character etiquette. Just interacting with them was just the most. It was just. My wife and I were there for 6 months in Mayapur in 2015, where they taught us deity worship in the Mayapur Academy, and just being in their presence, one felt an amazing amount of purity and just indescribable kindness from them. Pangajangi Prabhu was so expert a pujari, but his expertness was not in the way he did the rituals. It was not like he knew like some amazing amount of, he had gone and studied for years and years and years of how to do the rituals exactly according to the Pancharatric. It wasn't like that. The perfection of his archana, of his worship of the Lord, was in his devotion, in his character, in the way he treated other devotees, in the way his deep love for the Lord and the holy name. It just came out in his personality after years and years of austerity. Actually, if we don't know that in the beginning days of Mayapur in Bengal, they were living in extremely austere conditions. It's not like you go now. Now you go and it's like a Disneyland. It's just there's amazing places to stay, amazing places to eat and go, and has developed into this like this campus of devotees. But at the time in the 70s, there was literally nothing there. It was rice fields, and Pankajangri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu had to live in these conditions, and just by the order of Srila Prabhupada, they lived there, and they served there so selflessly, and they became such dear parts and just a part of the landscape of Mayapur. When he went to Mayapur, you saw them there on the altar every single morning. You would see, if you watch on Mayapur TV, you'll see Jananivas Prabhu there in the morning darshan of Radha Madhav, offering the mirror to the Lord. And you'll see Pankajangi Prabhu on Lord Nrsingadev's altar. Every morning he was there. Excuse me. Every morning he was there serving. And just to see for 50 years living there and serving there, it's so inspiring to see how we should become, what we should strive for, and what it is to be a pure Vaishnava. Anyway, I'll stop there. It's in conclusion, is that I see so many similarities between the story of Ambarish Maharaj and his qualities of a devotee and our contemporary devotees that we all look up to, and how we should strive to become gentle devotees, becoming kind with each other and gentle. So I'd like to open it up for any questions or comments. My apologies.
Prabhu, the content of your class is one thing, but your personal presence is also very impactful. Last time you gave class, Gaurangi, who's 6 years old, was watching. She was just glued to the video the whole time. And then she said, that was a good class. 6 years old.
Thank you, Prabhu.
It's very delightful to
Thank you.
that kind of drawn to see your enthusiasm, your conviction, your wisdom, your joy and being a devotee. Very nice.
Thank you for encouragement, Prabhu.
I think Angelika wants to say something. Do you hear?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your class. Yes, I did want to say something. And first of all, I just always appreciate how relatable your classes are. Like you always come back to qualities of the devotees. You always bring it to contemporary context, which is actually where it's at. The Shastra lives with us as we are trying to practice this path. And I had a few reflections, but I also was very touched actually by you just clarifying the devotee. I cannot repeat the name. It's really hard for me to catch that name, so please forgive.
Sure. It's Pankajangri.
Pankajangri.
Yes.
Thank you. One of the reflections was, monkeys are already renounced, but they are not devotees. And that was just such a striking image, because that's so true. And I feel that oftentimes I fall into those traps, just thinking that if I just become more renounced, then I will be a better devotee. But it is really in engaging everything we have in Krishna's service and doing it with intelligence, as opposed to just going into those dangerous places of trying to be just falsely renounced. And then when you were also speaking about Lord Shiva being the embodiment of gentleness, it reminded me of this pastime that I heard from I forgot her name, Achyuta Gopi. And she was speaking about this pastime of Lord Krishna crying for Lord Shiva when he would cry and he wouldn't stop crying. And then Lord Shiva came to see him and he looked very ghastly with like snakes and, around him and matted her. And Lord Krishna saw that gentleness in him completely as he sees every one of us, really to our core. And he only stopped crying after Lord Shiva embraced him. So it came to my mind because I think it's just a very sweet pastime, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much for your
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, there's a temple in Nandagram of Ashishwar Mahadev. It's where that Ashishwar means Ashish means hope, and so the Lord Shiva had gone to take darshan of Krishna, and Mother Yashoda had said, "No, you have snakes and things. He'll be very scared of you." So Lord Shiva went and sat down nearby, and he sat there in meditation, hoping that Krishna he'll see Krishna and have darshan of Krishna. So that's why he's called Ashishwar Mahadev, and so that temple of Mahadev is there that you can take darshan of. Thank you for sharing that. Does anyone else have any? Yes.
Yeah, Haribol Namarasa. I just want to say something Adi says all the time. How wonderful is Krishna that he arranged for you to be giving the class on this day when you can speak from personal experience about the wonderful soul who's left their body. And in the last couple of years, I've taken to often watching Mayapur morning RT. And so I don't know him, but I know him because there he was, always, always, always. And your personal reflection and you're pulling into Shastra, you were the perfect person to bring this to us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Namarasa Prabhu.
Krishna.
I just wanted to ask if you could share another reflection from the time that you were there with your wife, taking that class with the Prabhu who left his body, Pankachankri.
Yes.
I would love to, hear more so we can glorify this great devotee.
Sure. I mean, I don't know what more I can say, but that he was it was a very, just to see his daily dedication. We were only there for 6 months, but he had been doing that dedicated service for 48 years daily with his twin brother. And just that visual of seeing them two on the altar every morning was just very sobering and very just like, wow, how can someone dedicate themselves so selflessly? These disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are around us, it just made so many realizations to me that how much we should take their association and take their example and their dedication, and how we should use that to, understand what it is to be devotees. And he was just such a gentle-hearted person. He was English. They were English. They were born in Britain in the 1950s, I believe. And he was about 75 years old, but he was so young, like he was always dancing, and he was just like a very young person, even though he was so elderly in his age. Him and his twin brother, they were just always walking around, and this is because of their purity in their own personal lives as being, celibate monks, and also in their purity of their every morning being in the class. They would have their place where they would sit every morning in the Bhagavatam class. It was just, they were just such a, like, a pillar. Like a pillar is always going to be there Whenever you go to a certain temple, okay, this pillar is always going to be there. It's always there. They were just like that. They were just part of the landscape of Mayapur. And it's just an incredible loss to the Mayapur community of those who saw him for many years, daily. I was only there for 6 months, and he just had such an effect on my heart. What to speak of those who were there for years and years, who were serving alongside him, how much of a loss they're feeling. And we don't pray for him. We don't pray for him because he was a transcendental person. Krishna, he was a pure soul who is directly in the shelter of Krishna. We don't cry, or we don't pray for his soul. We cry for ourselves, that we are bereft of his association. That's why we cry. That's why we are sad, because he's not with us anymore. But he has gone to the different service now. So that's why we're sad, because we lose the association of such Vaishnavas. So that's what I can say.
Okay. Hi. I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed your class, and I look forward to hearing you again. I was just wondering what you would think, like many scientists would say, like the ones who work with atomic energy, that their work doing the work, the decision to use it as a bomb was not theirs. It's made by political leaders. They're just the workers. I would just wonder what you would say to that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not black and white when it comes to, that situation. I mean, it's or any situation when it comes to that. Yeah. I mean, you can have very amazing, intentions. Like the scientists, there's so many scientists who have intentions of helping people and things, but when it's used, in a wrong way, maybe not by them even, maybe like you said, like by politicians or whatever, then it's it's not the fault of it's not fault of the scientists, it's the fault of those who use it in the wrong way. So that's how I would comment on that. But there are those who are not using it in the right way, and that's where this example comes from of the scientist that Prabhupada's giving. But yeah, it all depends on the intention of the person, and also who is actually doing that misuse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, looks like we're over time here. We can end there. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Hare Krishna. All goes to the Prabhupada.
Hi, I sent you a personal message. Can you write me the answer, please?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What verse talks about yeah, let me just pull that up here. Lord Shiva's qualities. That is 4:2:1. Canto 4, Chapter 2, Text 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.